Hello there and welcome to ESAC podcast episode number 4, of which we will be discussing the From Zero to Hero tournament as well as AirFrance Cup coming up, of course, within the next few months, of which we will have to watch. And of course, I am your host, Scotsman, Scottie, TM Scotsman. You may know me by numerous different aliases, but never mind about me. I am joined by the lovely Razer, who I'm sure will be happy to introduce himself and let you know why he's with me today.
Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know who I am, I'm Razer. I'm currently playing for Team Fury. Previously played for Team Q for a very long while. And yeah, I've been playing since 2014, basically, competitively, every team tournament since. And yeah, now I'm participating in Air France this autumn, and also in the From Zero to Hero, which are today's main subjects.
Exactly, as it says, two of our main subjects, and what better of a man to bounce off some opinions than someone who's actually participating in both of the tournaments. And of course, both tournaments upcoming relatively soon. Air France as yet, playoffs unannounced, and the From Zero to Hero group stages, which you will actually be able to see not this weekend but next weekend coming up. So we'll have the discussions of which we'll be having today. We'll be both looking at what's coming up just within a few weeks, looking at what's going to be coming up in a few months as well. But first things first, to give you guys a quick overview of the tournaments of which we are going to be looking at, of course, Zero to Hero, first of all, as that's going to be starting, as we said, not this weekend, but next weekend, starting on the 22nd of September, is a 2v2 tournament organised by some of the staff you may find familiar from the Giants Cup tournament, so names of which you'll find familiar, perhaps the likes of, Mass, Omnipots, Laos, and things like that. A bit of one of the cool things, I think a lot of people agree with me in terms of the Zero to Hero tournament. As I said, 2v2, split into two separate groups with actually two different map packs and a crowd-funded prize pool, of which we'll get to look forward to, and the two different groups with a new format that's coming into us, but also a few things we'll need to mention might bring a tier to some of those solid eyes, of which we'll be going into as well. But with the second tournament of which we'll be talking about today, that will be Air France, which will be, I guess you could call it a LAN event, however, will be hosted on an aeroplane, hence the Air France, of course. Rather big brand getting involved there, with the qualified players having participated in one of two qualifiers which took place. I believe the final one was a week or two ago, and the other one was last month, participating with players from all over Europe. So, I mean, to kick us off, Razer, our man himself did actually manage to qualify for the Air France Cup, and you done that, I believe, in the second qualifier. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
How did that go for you?
I also played in the first qualifier, and I thought I had pretty good chances, but in the end, it wasn't meant to be. And then in the second qualifier, when some of the bit more stronger players were already qualified, I managed to make it to the plane, and now we're just waiting to see how it's gonna be. Like, it's very cool event, and it has so huge potential, and it's very interesting to see what they can make of it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, just I think the key word for this event is potential, is exactly you're saying. I mean, for the people watching on the stream, you can see the participants of which have then been listed. So I believe the people that got through from the first qualifier, was it? Do you remember, Razer? Was it 4 people that qualified in year one? Was it?
It was 6 people. So basically,
6 people.
The 5 people on the top on this picture, and also Massa, were the 6 people.
Okay, so for qualifier number 1, of course, well, we'll just go through the people who did actually get through. So we've got Coco from Team Pax, we've got Spam from Diffused Kids, Rielu, who is not representing an organisation, Tween from Sampi, Afi from Team Pulse, Massa from Team Berlin International Gaming, or BIG, Papu of Team Gamers Origins, Razer of now, of course, Team Fury, our lovely guest here today, Cap also not represented at all, and Roland from Team Pulse as well. So we get 2 Pulse people, I suppose, in the lineup for this. Now, first things first, when you're kind of looking at the lineup of players which you're seeing, Razer, as a competitor with this, what's the first thing you're thinking when we list off some of those names which you're going to be going up against?
First of all, I would say that it is a pretty strong player field. Like, you have some really known names. Like, almost all people are very known in the scene and have been playing at a high level for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also good to have players from different organizations. Like, we have Massa from Big, and also Papu from Grimm's Origin, Span from Diffuse Kits, to maybe help the coverage a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and to see that those organizations they can benefit from Trackmania. So that's really cool to see that we have also like a very diverse lineup, and not just for many events much French players from the same teams, but it's very diverse here from all possible countries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a very diverse lineup, of course. I mean, typically for a lot of regional events, like say Gamers Assembly, Gaming Winterfest, you are typically only seeing French players signing up for this, or for a Gamers Assembly, there's always a very, very strong French contingent. However, I mean, we're seeing people from, of course, France. We're seeing Germans. We're seeing people from the Netherlands, Swiss, Austrian. Swedish, of course, and Slovakian with the likes of Tween. So we've got a lot of different nations being organised, and exactly as you said, there are a lot of different organisations, which I suppose it will bring. I mean, not that it might need it, of course, it will bring more prestige to the tournament with a lot of these big names, like, of course, Spam and Riolu and things like that. And then you've got Massa, who are, of course, all very popular streamers. And then people who've had a bit of a kind of microscope on them recently, the likes of Roland, of course, Cap, and yourself, from either, of course, you moving teams, of course, been in the news a little bit recently. Cap having left Gamers Origin, and Roland on a bit of a tear through TMGL, but on a kind of another route in terms of the actual tournament itself, it was a tournament which we saw of a very varied and mixed style of mapping. Not as much we're used to seeing through endurance maps, so to speak, through the likes of your Spam Weekly or Frostbill Weekly maps, and also not in the more recent argument for mixed maps in terms of TMGL. How did your experience with the map goes, and how would you describe how it went for you?
Personally, it is the first time ever that I could play a competition outside of tech, and I really thought that the maps were well built, and they all had the same kind of structure, but it was still different from each other. And almost all maps were like really liked by everyone. You can also see that we have many different kind of players. I mean, I never thought I would play a competition against Riolo, for example, who he plays everything but tech, and I play nothing but tech, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you have Roland and Afi coming like much from Nadeo, Papu mainly dirt player, and I think that the maps, they really took out like the best of each style into a very nice mix. So yeah, I think that was one of the better, I think, with the things with the competition, that the maps were so suitable for everyone.
Mm-hmm. In terms of you coming solely from a tech background, as you said, how do you feel that impacted your performance, say, for example, in the qualifiers, and perhaps going forward into the actual tournament, being only, as you said, someone that plays only tech compared to your players who are more used to participating in different styles of tournament?
For me, it's a huge, between the maps, there's a huge difference, because, for example, we had one map without the drift, the one with the weird end. Mm-hmm. And I think I was not even amongst the top 20 best players of that one, out of the qualifiers. I just couldn't do it because it was so new for me. And then you had three of the maps who were, I would say mainly tech, where I had like really good times on all the maps, and then one which was kind of in between. So for me, I think I'm the most vulnerable to like map style, because I mean, when I look at all these players, I don't see like anyone who has a really big weakness in the maps.
I mean, I suppose there's some weaknesses of which we'll go on to identify, of course, in regards to how some of the players will actually cope with playing. But in terms of a mindset, how does that work for you, at least going into a tournament you've now qualified for? Will you shy away from maps that you're saying that you are having issues with because it's such a shake-up in your style? Or is it more that you would what's the word I'm looking for? You would focus more on a map you have issues with, or you would just shy away from it and stick with what you're good at in this sort of situation?
I mean, for this competition, I think the main goal for me was to just get to the plane.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm training, I think I'm not gonna train my worst two maps much at all, because especially one with a weird end, I'm never going to become good enough on that. But on the other three maps, I feel like I can beat like anyone in a finalist mode. So I'm probably gonna focus on those three maps, and then hope to finish on one of those, and that the map order is good for me, because I feel like that's the only way for me to like place really high. Of course, I could maybe save it a bit and play my worst maps and maybe like end up in a decent spot, but not have a chance for the win.
Yeah.
So now I'm for sure gonna like really train my three best maps and hope that the map order will suit me, because then I think I have a decent chance.
Yeah. I mean, so then focusing to your strengths. So I suppose that also plays quite a lot into the mindset of that, as in when you are going, like, say, for example, of course, on the tech heavy maps, when you're going up against people and it goes onto that map, or if you see that that map is going to be, you know, one of the finalist maps, so to speak, that can, of course, give you quite a big boost going into that, like you're knowing, like, this, you know, I've got a good opportunity here, so to speak. But I suppose it can also kind of swing back that way. So I guess time will tell in regards to that. But I think it will be very interesting to see, especially the tech maps being displayed, to see if other people, like say for example, people who are more focused on tech, like the likes of Massa, Tween, things like that, will take the same approach as you, or if they're kind of looking at it a bit differently. But I suppose there's not really a right way to approach this. That's just more do what more you feels best. But I mean, the one main question I think everyone would really ask, and we'll kind of use that to drift on to our next topic in regards to that, is how does it feel to know that you're going to be playing a Trackmania tournament on an aeroplane?
I mean, that's it's
On an
really
aeroplane
hard
racer.
to it's really hard to like imagine, because never has like nothing similar has even been done in esports. Like it's not just specific and new for Trackmania; it's also new for esports in general. So you can't really find any event which is similar to this. But I think it's gonna be quite relaxed, and of course I think people are gonna play worse. Like you won't expect that sick times, because firstly you're on a plane, you have all these other like disturbances, which you can lose your focus, and then you have like you're sitting pretty up straight, I guess, close to the screen, and also you're playing with the Xbox One pad. So I think you just have to like adapt to the situation and not have like I'm like for me I'm not gonna think too much about it. Just go with the flow.
So are you looking at it more as just another Trackmania tournament in terms of how you kind of build up your mentality in regards to the event? Or because I understand, of course, you know, I make a big deal about it being in an airplane, because that's I can understand a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's quite a bizarre concept to actually have a tournament on an airplane. So you in your approach to it, you're trying to kind of expel that from your mind as much as possible, so to speak.
I mean, I'm not gonna have the same kind of mindset or practice as when I go into, let's say, a solo tournament online or a tech LAN.
Yeah.
I think I'm more gonna try to enjoy the event and not like. I mean, I'm gonna do everything I can to place good, but you know,
Of course.
I'm just gonna try to enjoy it as much as I can, and then if I play good, then I play good. But like in a tech LAN, if I play bad, I'm gonna be really disappointed. You know, like I'm gonna like wonder what did I do wrong. But here, I'm just gonna see what happens.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good way to go into a tournament, as I'm sure you'll know as much as myself, that going into these sort of big events with a lot of expectations. I mean, it can hurt, of course, when things don't go well, but I suppose that's the nature of our game, and I guess almost that's a kind of sick way as to why we love it, I guess. But I mean, in terms of the tournament itself, I mean, well, I do overblow it, just, you know, kind of freaking out that we're actually doing a tournament of Trackmania on a plane. But I mean, in terms of it actually being a bit of a milestone in terms of esports with this, as in, like you said, there's never really been something like this before. There's been no Counter-Strike tournaments, no Rocket League tournaments in a plane. And I mean, I'm not going to say that this is going to open up avenues that we're going to have flights flying about with, you know, all sorts of different tournaments on us. I don't think the resource in place really suits it in terms of this. But actually, a point was just brought up in the chat there, which is actually going to scoot onto with this. The also an adjustment, not just the fact of the environment you're going to be playing in. So, you know, being in midair, having a lot of people around you, you know, different seating, you know, shaking up what you're used to. Also, what was mentioned in regards to the actual hardware that's going to be available. Like, for example, it's not going to be, you know, the most powerful of computers as far as I've heard. The frame rate's going to be limited, and you're, of course, going to be limited to a single control method, so to speak, as in whatever controller they provide, so to speak. How do you feel that impacts you as just simply, you as again, have you adjusted your approach in any way to compensate for this? And how do you feel that will affect the tournament in general?
Yeah, well, yeah, mainly like I guess the quality on the screens are not gonna be too high. So I guess people who are like used to 144Z and like high resolution and like super good FPS are gonna have a tougher time. Like I'm personally used to playing on decently low graphics, which on both my lands, like on Giant Cup, I played on iMac with a pretty bad resolution, but it still went pretty well. But I think the main problem is going to be for some people that were playing on an Xbox One pad. For example, Luca Tween, I don't think he's ever tried even pad. I mean, he maybe tried, but he's been a keyboard player forever. So, and to go up against the best and changing from keyboard to Xbox One, that's already like, yeah. I mean, that's gonna be really tough. And also, like me, I've never played on Xbox before. I played on pad, but it's gonna be real change too. So yeah, I mean, as you mentioned with the hardware, some people are very sensitive to different kinds of settings, and some are just used to playing on like all kinds of different screens and settings and computers. So it's very individual in this case, I think.
Yeah, I suppose in your ways, exactly, you're saying summarizes it perfectly. It depends on the individual's sensitivity to change, so to speak. As if you are a person that's very versatile, you know, you've been used to playing at lots of different qualities, you're used to playing with lots of different input devices and things like that, then this can be a tournament which will even, if anything, lend you a bit of an advantage in regards to that. But yeah, I mean, Tween being one of the main points as to, you know, he's been a keyboard player at the top level for as long as we can remember. I mean, certainly going back for all these World Championship kind of runs, so to speak, he's always been a keyboard player. I mean, I don't know to what extent he has dabbled in using a controller or anything like that, and especially not an Xbox One controller. It's an interesting storyline going into this to see who adapts the best and to see how it does affect the tournament in general. But I mean, moving on to another kind of side of what the AirFrance Cup is, quote unquote, supplying, so to speak, not necessarily in terms of the hardware, but in terms of the tournament itself, as of the actual prize pooling structure, which was announced for the tournament. And basically, it's a bit of a strange occurrence in terms of the lands of which are going to be taking place, and the fact that it doesn't have a quote unquote prize pool, of which will then be issued for the actual tournament placings itself. It's more in terms of kind of Air France sponsored gifts, so to speak. Like, people will be getting goodie bags and that sort of thing, and people will be getting sponsored trips to Ubisoft in Montreal and a return flight to there. Now, normally we're seeing from Techlands, you know, specific amounts being put up. We're seeing it for tournaments now like TMGL. We're seeing it from FromZeroToHero, which we'll be going on to later, and things like that. Do you believe in any way that's impacted the quality of the event we're going to see, or in terms of, you know, say for example, a player from outside France who might find it a bit more of a cost to go to something like this? not applying for it as a result. How do you feel that that's affected the competition in terms of the prize pooling structure?
I mean, that is a very fair point, because I think if you look at the involved actors in this event, you have like multi-million companies like Ubisoft and Air France, and also this Latiker who's hosting the technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, like, if you had a real solid prize pool, that you would get even more, like even all the best players to come and try and play this. And but I think they are still very fortunate to have such a strong lineup, because it could have been like a bit weaker, but also I feel like the focus isn't really on like winning the event. It's more like it's more of showing off the technology, and for this company to prove that they have found something new.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for sure we could have better players, but I think it's maybe not too crucial to have all the best players on such an event, because the main focus is not going to be the competition. It's going to be to promote this technology for airplanes.
Mm-hmm. Well, exactly as you're saying there. I mean, the competition goal for that is clearly not what the players can then achieve in regards to that. It's not your typical esports LAN event, of which I guess is clear already. It's something that a lot of people will not be used to even hosting in regards to that and participating in. So, I mean, in terms of that, I mean, I as a player and a player having had issues with the, like, say for example, I was in a place where I wanted to attempt to qualify for this, but I'm very limited in my ability to do that, because chances are I'm going to have to be paying most of it out of my own pocket. I mean, say quote sponsor issues or anything like that. But so in terms of the people who have actually just simply went to qualify for the tournament, I mean, typically we're seeing only players who really come out for your big prize events. So, say, I mean, the likes of, Coco, Massa, Spam, these sort of people don't particularly participate in a lot of your regular tournaments now. Say your online tournaments that don't normally have a prize pool. Not to say they're simply prize fighters. It's just they're not as competitively active as they used to be, and not necessarily that's the same for yourself, but understand, of course, you're not going there, to win X amount of prize money, or you're going there. What do you think the motivation is for these people to actually try and qualify for our event? Do you think it is just going there because it's another event, or do you feel it's perhaps they want to be part of, I suppose, a little note of history that they played in the first tournament on an airplane? What do you feel it is that's drawing people to participate in an event that may not be about the actual tournament itself?
I think the biggest point for people to go is to, I mean, for me it was just a really cool event to, like, I mean, you're playing an esport game on an airplane. Yeah, so I really thought that there would be more players. I'm not saying the level was lower, but I think I was expecting a higher level on the qualifications. So I mean, of course, that has a big impact. Yeah.
What would you say it is that's maybe prevented some of your other players that would have been capable going from it? I mean, was there any specific factors you identified of it that you think would have stopped someone from attempting to qualify for it?
I guess the main thing would be that you had no idea when the event was going to be played.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, not going to say too much, but we don't have a set date yet either for all the 10 players. So that's for sure like stopping. I know that can be explicit that's the reason he's not going. And I guess you're in the same situation, kind of.
Yeah.
So that has a really good, like, really big effect on missing some players. But and yeah, I'm not sure what you could do about it, because I mean, when you look at it, you need to find, you need to depart from an airport, you need to arrive at an airport and then go back. So you need to find like a time to do this, and it's really hard to, I mean, for everyone involved to find a suitable date. Yeah. So that's going to be tough.
I suppose it's it's logistical problems that going in as just a player, like for example, in the case of myself and Danik B, I mean, I'm sure he had as well as myself. We had prepared for this tournament, but for people who aren't in the position where I can just say to my sponsor, "Oh look, I've got this tournament here. I don't really know when it is, but when it's coming, you need to foot the bill for me because like there's uncertainty here, so to speak, and kind of so to speak, they'll be the one which will take the brunt of it, so to speak. Whereas I understand the likes of Danik being myself weren't in the position where we can just fork out amount of money for a trip, accommodation, and getting back and things like that. I mean, I suppose unless you could have a quiet word with the pilot, just if I get knocked out early, just to chuck me out the plane on the way back or something like that. But I don't think. But again, I think it's just a lot of logistical issues that we're not really used to dealing with, I guess, because like you exactly said there, it's not just a case of we need to find, a big space in a building with internet connection. It's a case of we need to find out when we can get a slot for a plane to take off and
Yeah,
land.
exactly.
It's with enough time for there to be a tournament and things like that. So, I mean, I understand the hesitancy to then put information out there, but I think it's severely impacted people's ability to prepare adequately for it. I mean, for
Yeah.
players to know exactly how to structure their training, because I mean, you'll know it from preparing from tournaments yourself. I mean, players don't sit for. I mean, if it's a month away, then they might sit, do their training each day and things like that. If you know a tournament's going to be a month away, then you might prepare a lot for it in that month. But if a tournament's going to be 4 months away, then you're not going to be sitting doing that every day, day in, day out. You're going to structure a plan. Either I'm going to start training at a certain day, or you're going to deal with that when you know the information is more concrete. So I can understand the hesitancy just for players in general, but a question that was brought up by Mr. Eric Holdall, the king of podcasts himself, is actually directed to you specifically in terms of how your move from Q to Fury may have affected things like this. As he was mentioning, as I just read out here, since the date might be short notice and you have some distance to travel, how has joining Fury helped you in regards to your participation in this tournament, or has it even helped at all?
I think I would still play tournament if I was in queue, but for sure now when I have an organization backing me up, and like they were really happy when they found out, so it's gonna help economically to not having to pay everything myself, and also to have someone to play for, and also to playing for like helping the lineup in Fury in Trackmania to get better visibility and to help us maybe stay in the organization and get more support in the future also. So I feel like I'm not just playing for myself, but I'm also playing for both the Trackmania lineup, but also for the organization. So that's what I also want to do decently on the plane and to represent them in a good way. And I think that helped mostly with motivation. Do all my best to make it, and then to just be part of it with everyone involved in the organization.
No, I mean, in terms of the actual tournament itself, as one of the points we'll kind of round off on it, so to speak. A lot of people, there was maybe not a common opinion, but shall we say it was a very loud spoken opinion about the AirFrance Cup, and what I'll latch on to what you were mentioning there is the kind of scale of these organisations that we've got involved. So we've got the likes of Air France is one of globally the biggest airlines in the world. We've got Ubisoft, one of the biggest game publishers in the world. And in terms of this, for our tournaments previously, say if I'll give an example of myself. So for Gamers Assembly, if I was good enough, I could at least not make a massive loss in money, as in I could spend, say £500-600 going to that event. I could get a good bit of money back from winning it. But of course, I'd have to pay up most of it myself. Bit different if you've got a sponsor and things like that. But a lot of people were mentioning in terms of that they thought the sponsor, as in Air France and Ubisoft, of the actual event itself, due to the capacity of these organisations and due to the lack of monetary return that you can get from that, should have at least offered for players to at least have at least part of the accommodation or costs refunded, as we have kind of seen, not necessarily precedents from these specific organisations, but when you really want a showcase of your technology, if I'll sit myself in the argument for in the case of this, if you want to showcase your technology, you're wanting good players to go. And of course, if the incentive is something that they're not going to see a return from, bar, I suppose a holiday that they might not even be interested in, do you think that it was a valid argument even to have the sponsors paying up the sort of travel and accommodation for players, or do you think that's something we're reasonably never really going to see from events like this?
Well, when you look at at a tournament like Certain Cup, he pays the travel for everyone to come to his cup. So I agree that it should have been some sort of like economic help for some people, because when you look at it, it's really it should be really a huge thing, like playing in a plane and all this new stuff. And yeah, I agree that they could help in some way, not like paying everything, but at least show that the players are really important in this event, and that it's not just the technology, but also like the players who are there to show them the technology, because we are a big part of it.
Because I suppose, I mean, if we look at it in a way as in how I would like to see, say, for example, they didn't do a Trackmania Cup, they didn't do a Trackmania Cup, they done a CS Cup, for example. I would want to see two good, even if it's going to be French, two good French Counter-Strike teams playing in that cup. And to that, I'd understand for good organisations to get interested in this, or good people in the event of a solo game, of course, to get interested in things like that. You would need to provide them some sort of incentive. I mean, a round trip to Montreal is certainly nice. I mean, that would cost a lot of money to pay out your own pocket, and getting a tour of the Montreal Ubisoft studios is certainly something that you don't turn your nose up at. But it's something that, of course, only one person's going to be able to get a benefit from, and it's something that you're not going to have tangible, as in you're going to have spent this kind of money to go out to this tournament, or your sponsor's going to spend out this money, and the only thing you're really tangibly getting back from it is either if you win, you're getting I suppose a holiday, quote unquote, depending on if there's any strings attached to that, because of course we don't know that yet. But as well, you kind of need to worry about, what am I going to do with what's come out of my pocket, so to speak? People need to worry about that. I suppose that's what makes it kind of difficult to deal with. But I suppose one of the main problems, of course, that I guess was with it was the omission of the playoff dates. But as we discussed, that's understandable due to the logistical problems. But hopefully, we'll be looking to see more information. They do see it as in the Q4 of 2019. And unfortunately, we don't have a set date yet, but it'll be definitely something we do then have to look forward to. But I mean, just to round off in regards to Air France, what is your impression of the kind of, what do you believe you're going to be thinking about this cup once it's over? Do you believe it's going to have a big impact, and maybe we'll see more involvement from bigger brands, or do you think this is just a kind of novelty that we're going to be looking back on thinking, oh, remember that time we had a Trackmania tour on a plane kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that this whole cup has such a huge potential, and I think, and I also hope that they haven't showed this yet, because so far the communication and like the info and everything has been kind of lackluster for what it could be and for what it is. Like as mentioned again, it's a tournament on a plane for the first time ever in esport. They have such a opportunity here to do something really nice. And as I mentioned, also from their perspective, they are, I would say, quite fortunate to have such a strong and diverse and representable lineup of players. Is what it seems like. You look at the lineup and think like, okay, everybody tried to qualify here, and like that, there were like all the best players tried. Also, I think that when you look at the website, you can see that the top 10 players, they receive goodies and surprises. this could also be like anything, because if you look at what companies are involved, I don't think they're gonna give you like a goodie bag with AirFrance water bottle and some
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, it could be some prize money announced on the on the plane,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be some other small trip. I don't know. Yeah, but I hope it's gonna be something to look back at and see that it was really organized and that we did everything we could to make it a great historic event, and not just tournament on a plane and then it's over.
Yeah. Because I mean, exactly as you said. I mean, one of the first things you said that there's such a great potential with this. I mean, there's never going to be another first tournament in a plane. It's as simple as that. It is a first, and there is so much things that can be done with it. Both to, because I mean, even still, if they pop up in the plane and then say, by the way, I know we just said that it's a tournament. Sorry, it's a tournament to win. A bit to Montreal. A flight to Montreal, sorry. If they come back and announce, even still, if even it's just something nominal, like say, 1,000, 2,000 euros, something like that. By the way, we're putting 2,000 euros on the go. That's going to hype up the players a little bit. That's going to have
Yeah.
the people that are watching it in the stream going, oh,
For sure.
Here's something else that's at stake, so to speak. Maybe that'll give the players a kick up the ass kind of thing. I mean, like I say, like you say, sorry, there's so much potential in so much ways we can go with this. But again, I suppose it's in their hands, like you've done in the event of you qualifying. Of course, you've done what you can, and of course are going to do to make the event as best as possible in terms of putting on a good performance, as I'm sure all the other players will do. But speaking of other players and going on to other events, we do also have, through the later stages of this month, even, and going on to the rest of the year, Zero to Hero tournaments, of course, or from Zero to Hero, however you'd like to classify it. So, Zero to Hero organised again, as we were saying, by the Giants Cup crew, as I'll call them. So again, that's like your Omnipots, Mass. We've got people like Laos. We've got Papu involved, and that's of course the tech Papu, who I believe is currently playing in Orcs, so we don't get them confused. We've got people like Gali and such from the old organisation going into it. So again, just as I understand, we started off on that just a little bit of time ago. To give you guys a quick overview of it, it's a 2v2 tournament of which will be played on alternating weeks. So there's a Group A and a Group B. It was drawn last week, if I remember correctly. I should remember because I've done it. Last week, we drew people from 4 pots, so we had in total 96 duos, if I remember correctly, and they were classified into 4 pots based upon their skills, so pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, and pot 4. Of course, pot 1 being the best, pot 4 being perceived as the least experienced, if we'll say, and drew them into 2 separate groups, equal amount of pot 1, 2, 3, and 4 in each group. And with Group A having been playing the group stage on the 22nd of September and then the 6th of October. So playing each fortnight, so to speak, and then Group B playing on the other weekend. So that will, of course, be the 29th of September and then fortnightly following from that. Again, the format that it'll actually be is on that Sunday. We'll be starting off pretty early, and it will have essentially a knockout tree, basically almost a single elimination tournament, essentially is the best way I could describe it. And you earn points based upon where you place within that bracket. So, of course, if you place first in the bracket, you win. You get the most amount of points to carry on to the next week's. And once all the tournament brackets are finished, the top, I think it's 8, will proceed forward into the playoffs. The top 8 of each group will proceed into the playoffs and kind of take it from there. But first impressions for this, Razer, I mean, let us know, of course, who you're partnered up with and what you felt when you saw such a tournament with a kind of new format was coming around.
I mean, this tournament was announced like 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the hype was really big. And considering the, I guess, organizational and sponsor problems that they had, it kind of shut down. But now it got hyped again because such a huge community contribution. I think it's 1,100 euros from just the community, like into the prize pool, which has hyped it up a lot. And you can see many of the strongest tech players participating. And I think it's going to be really, really cool tech event. to follow. It was a long time ago since we had a 2v2 tournament. And also since the prize pool is kind of big and there are so many strong. I mean, you have Carl of Brand from Solar, you have Pack and Massa signing up, and some of the strongest online players like Magor and Dexter and Novitz in Complex. It's gonna be cool to see everyone once again playing online against each other, because it was a long time ago where you had these kind of players who play in an online tournaments. So that's, I think, what I'm mostly interested about, to see the level and to see everyone playing against each other again on the highest level of tech.
Yes, exactly. You're saying there's a lot of names in that you don't see in your typical online team tournaments or anything like that. Is exactly you're saying. Brennan Carl, Pack, Massa. It's going to be really interesting to see, because of course the tech scene has been developing, especially a lot over the past year, where we're seeing a lot of names have their time in the sun. And have really strong performances in tournaments, and it's going to be interesting to see, because not all of these people then participate in the high level tech events like, say, Gamers Assembly, the World Cups and things like that. Example being your Dexter and Megorian didn't participate in that sort of thing. You've got the likes of Novus and Complex who haven't participated in that sort of thing. Going up against players who are known to be extremely strong players. Example, your Massa and Pack, as you're saying, Brennan Carl Jr. And to see how they go against what are now perceived to be the best tech players, because that's who we're typically seeing at the top in these sort of online tournaments and things like that. I mean, in terms of a question, just even on the what do you call it, the quality of the kind of the teams that's then came out over the course of the whole pots and things like that. Do you believe it? You say, do you think some of the strongest players have then signed up in the pot one? Do you look at the rest of the pot stream kind of people that have just kind of filled the spots, so to speak, or have you got your eyes on any specific duos in the lower pots who might be able to mix things up a little bit?
When I was looking at these pots, I actually got struck by like how many strong duos there are in the pot 2. I mean, we still have 16 duos in the pot 1, and that's like 32 players.
Yeah.
We still have so many strong players in the second pot. I don't think maybe that those players will have a chance at winning, but they can for sure upset the how to say favorites and the higher seeded players. So it's gonna be cool in that regard to see, and also considering that the maps are, in my opinion, rather easy. The skill gap is gonna be a bit smaller between like the really good and the good players. So I think we're gonna see some upsets, which is gonna be cool. I mean, it's gonna be both good and bad, but yeah, it's gonna be cool to see if we will find any upcoming strong duo or any upcoming strong players who can really shine through in this competition, because I think they have a really good chance to do so.
Is there any specific duos you've got your eyes on in terms of, a contender that people might not expect, a bit of a dark horse that people can look out for?
I don't really have the duos in my head, but I'm not really sure. I think there are some strong duos, and it's really hard to say which one is gonna shine through, because also in all these new duo, I mean, all these pot 2 players, they're also kind of experienced, so people know how good they are.
Yeah.
I guess maybe some didn't take the that last step, and maybe we will see it in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, even some in the pot two that are there, I mean, mostly we've got kind of question marks over them, so to speak. A prime example being John and Royal actually returning to competition after quite some time. I mean, Royal, of course, being one of the very top names within the past, shall we say, 5 years of tech, of course, fell away from it within the past year or two. Not really been participating as much, but definitely a very marquee name of which we're used to seeing at the top level. of which now will be in pot 2. So definitely cases for upsets there. We've got some really strong upcoming players, likes of Blacked, Blue, and Loud joining up together, who are now in both an Ubi team, if I'm correct, and of course have ascended very, very quickly through the likes of the different teams they've been part of. Same with Bulbus and Tromolipe. Very strong players who have been on the rise. Players we're not as much used to seeing in tech, even if we look down to the way of pot 3. We've got people like Levin, who doesn't particularly participate that much in Trackmania tech tournaments, however, is known to be very strong. We've got Gwen and Wosile, who are
that's a really interesting duo.
Yeah, extremely well versed on many multiple different styles of tournaments, but how they're going to participate in a tech LAN will be, of course, up to question. And you even get people down here, example, Crucial and Speedy, Amaterasu and Jordan, even Bits and Scary down in the pot 3. So definitely some very interesting people to look at. And of course, I mean, pot 4, the names tend to be a little bit more spread out in regards to this. I mean, we've of course got the likes of God Despa, we've got the likes of Tomei, formerly Easy Killers player. We've got quite a lot of good players still in pot 4. I mean, just because they're in pot 4 isn't to say that they're bad players. It's just kind of say pot 3 and pot 4 is kind of mixed together, so to speak. So there's going to be a lot of room for upsets, is exactly you're then saying in regards to this. Now, what did you think about the decision to split it up into pots and to split it up into groups? What did you think when you first saw that was happening?
I feel like it's a good idea to do so, because in tournaments like this, you really want the strongest teams to play against each other late on. I also heard that the teams in the pot 1 will not play the first round of qualifications. So I guess
that's correct, yeah.
Seeded from 1 to 16, so that they play against each other earliest in the was going to be 8 finals, 16 finals. So I think that's a good idea to like mix it up like this, split it up like this, because maybe it's unfair to some players. They think in pot 4 and pot 3 that they're gonna, always face the better players. But
yeah,
I think for the tournament's sake and for the sake of interest, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of as well the approach with the different groups and having a group A and having a group B, also an important point of that is that they were having alternating match days. So, of course, Group A, as I said, will be playing next weekend. Group B will be playing the following weekend, and also on different map packs, which we've not really seen before. How did you feel about seeing not only the difference in, of course, say another duo is in another group, but they're playing on different dates and different maps?
I think this is gonna help. This is gonna help with the promotion of the tournament. That you see, like 1 week you have this group, and then the next week you're gonna have equally strong players, but from another group. So it's not like the same players we week after week after week. I also think it's a good sign of the creativity of Mass and Omnipos. They always find these interesting solutions to make their tournaments more interesting. I think this is a really good example of that, and I think it's a good idea to diversify the tournament more. And then when you have the 16 best players, you're gonna have a playoff where they can play for the top positions.
So I suppose for the essentially, I mean, the duos who are actually going to compete for top positions, they're expected to, I guess, get to the playoffs anyway. Of what group they were in won't matter, because they'll be playing against people from either group anyway. So I suppose that's an important point to take into account in that side of things. But also, I think you'll agree with me in terms of looking at it from a player's perspective. Of course, say you are one of the strong duos and you are expected to go far in regards to this, the matches are going to be going. So you were right in saying, of course, that you skip the first match if you're in a seed pot 1 or 2, but you're going to be playing from 3 o'clock until 7 or 8 o'clock. That's a very long day of Trackmania to be doing, week after week after week. I mean, of course, some people can do it, some people won't feel as comfortable doing it, but I think splitting it up into the different groups has really been beneficial in terms of you don't need to worry about having your full weekend taken up. Your full Sunday taken up every single week. You can rest one, you can play one, that kind of thing. I think that's made it a lot easier, and I mean it's certainly a lot less daunting when I looked at it and thought, oh crap, am I going to have to play like 6 hours like every weekend or something like that?
Exactly.
Because I already lose my Sundays to Trackmania, but I suppose I suppose I'm in the stage of just accepting that now. But I mean, with the tournament, with the kind of dual format and things like that, as you'd said previously, the 2v2 format isn't something we've actually seen for quite a long time. Do you think there's any reason that people haven't went for typical 2v2 formats? Just, I mean, perhaps it's normally a bigger team-based game now, or is this something you specifically are looking forward to?
I mean, we haven't really seen 2v2 tournaments in the overall history of Trackmania. It's either solo 1v1v1v1 or it's a team tournament, and 2v2 is kind of in between.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but also we saw FromZeroToHero Cup being in 2v2 mode, and it seemed really successful. Like people cheered for their duos, and like it was really new fresh air.
Yeah.
And I think it might have the same effect on this tournament also, that you have like all these strong players teaming up and not just fighting a 1v1v1 as we were used to seeing, but now it's also more of a team game. Like you need to check during the round how your teammate is doing, if you need to risk, if you need to say, like if you go for the draw or if you like risk it. So it's gonna be one more element to the whole competition, which might not necessarily be better than a normal cup mode tournament, but it's gonna be something new, and I think it helps bring interest to the tournaments.
I think one of also the factors that brings a great deal of interest towards, at least for me personally, is for a lot of these duos, these are players that you would never normally see playing together. Like, of course, Dexter and Megorian are from two completely different teams. And normally in team tournaments, not only, of course, are you separated by team, but typically you see teams being a bit more inclusive as to who they recruit. For example, in the example I gave of Dexter and Megorian, elementaries are well, if we'll classify them as the kind of mad drivers lineup from how they've kind of originated from, a very strong Polish contingent there. They're not typically teams of which the likes of your Dexter would play in, of course. Dexter's been sticking around, say the likes of Mysterious Monkeys, Trackmania Heroes Europe, and PKD for a kind of time. So I guess I would classify them as perhaps even more German-based teams. You look at some other duos, for example, yourself and Danik B. I mean, you've never really been in a team together, so to speak. And even the likes of myself and McQuattro. Like me and McQuattro have never even been close to being in the same team before. And now we're getting a tournament of which we can play together, like Symbios and Yo-Yo and things like that. I think that really adds to the interest because, I mean, say for example, if this was a tournament of which there would be a second edition soon, I would be really looking forward to see, who's going to join together. And that's what I was like in the lead up to this. I'm like, who's signing up, who are they going to be with? I mean, some of the duos you'd be able to predict a bit easier, like Dutchy and Mathix, Beaten Revolution, Eager Nevermind, that kind of side of things, Kronos, Roa, and so on. They're a bit easier to kind of take from, but I was really interested to see what teams would be represented if they would go for duos within their own team, or even just what kind of cross-referencing, so to speak, we would have between lots of different camps in Trackmania. So that was really what I was looking forward to in this. But I mean, you mentioned in terms of it being much more of a map style, which tends to be an easier map, and we'll see the tracks not being as difficult, and perhaps do you think that's going to lead to, along with some very high powered duos, that it's going to be very close matches? Or do you think that with the way the groups are set up, as a reminder, it wasn't necessarily seeded groups when they changed it over to A to B, it was just half of these random numbers are A and half of these random numbers are B? Do you think that's going to adversely affect the group stage, or do you think? What are your expectations, if I ask this easily, going into the group stage?
Well, first of all, I have to admit that I would say Group A, our group is not as strong as Group B.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be easier for pot 2 teams to. I mean, the pot 1 teams in Group A they have a bit more easier time than Group B. So I think the pot 2 teams have a greater chance in Group A to make some upsets.
Mm-hmm.
But also considering that there are three weekends where you can gain points, it's gonna still come down to the 16 best teams, and you're not gonna see any favorite falling out. I think because like if they do really bad one week, it's not gonna cost them to not reach the playoffs. So I think in the end it's still gonna be the 16. Like, of course, there's gonna be some upsets, but the expected teams, and not a huge upset. But I think the teams in pot 2 in Group A can have a great chance to place good and to reach the playoffs. And then in Group B, it's gonna be a bit tougher for them. I think we have it's gonna be more unpredictable Group A.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of as well, another factor of this tournament, which was really, I was really happy to see, as you did kind of touch on previously, in terms of that this tournament was also crowdfunded in terms of the actual the prize pool for it. Of course, the prize pool coming to a total amount of at least at the moment £1,080, and that was as of last Sunday. So of course that may have since changed from then. But I mean, it's first of all, I'm absolutely delighted to see the Trackmania community getting so involved in a tournament like this. When the sponsor kind of fell apart, and it was looked to be that Mass basically asked, look, do you still want to do this tournament? Essentially, just play it for fun. A lot of people stepped up and really gave people a reason. Like for some of your people who might only see this as a money grab, so to speak, but still, that still resulted in some of the top players getting involved in this. And I at least thought that was quite a heartwarming moment, and I was really happy to see that. But how do you think? Do you think that will set a precedent for any events going forward? Do you anticipate to see any tournaments trying to raise trying actively to raise a bit more of a prize pool because they've seen, I mean, the effect that that's had in Zero to Hero, or at the very least have looked at the impact that having a crowdfunded prize pool has been, and can I try and emulate that, or do you see us continuing with tournaments which don't really offer that much of a monetary gain for players?
First of all, I think I was really surprised by. I expected people to help the tournament with the prize pool, but I didn't expect over €1,000. That was honestly mind blowing to me. That's like I can't understand where they got all that money from. It's really cool to see, and I think it shows some signs that for the future, I think there's been some discussions also about having buy-ins for tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like a tournament, and then like each team pays, let's say, €10. I mean, if you have 10 players, that's nothing, but it still brings some attention to the tournament, and people are gonna try more to win, maybe. So I think it's not the goal. The goal is not to have crowdfunded tournaments, because that's just not gonna be good in the long run. But I think it's a good start to get some really strong players to the tournaments, and also to bring some heat, to have some sort of buy-in, or like some sort of possibility to donate, so that the interest is going to be higher in team tournaments. If you look at, for example, the final PTC, which was this weekend, I mean, it was a really good playoff. I mean, the grand final was, in my opinion, really close between the two objectively best teams in the tech scene, who were really prepared both. I mean, if you had some buy-ins and also some like really good streamers to catch this, it would further improve for the future.
Well, I would say, of course, that I think almost it is kind of something that the players are almost finding even necessary for the participation in tournaments. I mean, we look at some of the names that have kind of been omitted from team tournaments that just haven't been playing, have kind of fell back from playing a lot. Is that it's kind of added a little bit of spice to the event in the sense that the players have really got something to fight for, other than just pride, other than just the fact that they're there to be the best, so to speak, which I think is important in team tournaments. But I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm not the one with the silver bullet to be able to, put in a chamber and then that will just fire that and then say this is how it should be done. This is how everything will be fixed and all the rest of that. Unfortunately, so I mean, with this, it's very difficult to then be dealt with. And it's an interesting question to definitely keep track of and see how other tournaments then react to it. As for example, when I done my follower tournament, I just simply says, I'm putting this amount of money to it. I think I put about £150 or something like that, if I remember correctly. If anyone else wants to put anything towards it, it's all going to the people anyway. Then it'd be welcome. But I'd be interested to see if this does affect any other tournament providers' approaches, as they have seen that they will put the money towards it to basically. They will put the money towards it to basically make sure that the tournament is as best as it can be, and to hope, again, if I go back in the theme we were making earlier, to help it reach its best potential. But round Zero to Hero with a bit of a sad note, I must say. Not that we like to end it sad, of course, but this was stated in the video for Zero to Hero as an announcement to be made that it was going to be Massey's last tournament being involved in Trackmania, which I would at least go out and speak for myself, and my direct involvement with Mass, I think, is a very, very sad loss to the Trackmania scene, as he's given us some extremely eventful, extremely well thought out, well organised tournaments, and I can easily go out and say that Giants Cup was the best LAN event that I've ever participated in terms of the experience I had there, how well it was handled, the atmosphere. Everything was absolutely in top notch, and I give him full credit for that, as he's put in an often unseen but a massive and certainly should not go unnoticed impact into the Trackmania scene, and he's really going to be a sore loss. I think I can speak for a lot of people saying that, and I can only hope that this tournament is as good as it can be, and that this is worth it, that this will be, I suppose, a lovely footnote to the legacy that he's kind of left in Trackmania. But I mean, I suppose, Razer, we could have almost seen it coming with, like what the issues that's then been had in regards to the Zero to Hero, and I understand there's been a lot of conflict in terms of the TMGL and such like that. Was that something you saw coming at all?
I'm not really sure if I saw it coming, but considering how the competitive scene in Trackmania has kind of changed, and that Mass has always been a promoter for tech tournaments, I think it's not too unexpected, because he has really put his soul into creating these inventive and diverse tournaments. And you can think anything, like you can think bad and good of him, but he's really contributed a lot. For example, we have MML, which was the what's it called? Musketeers monthly tournament.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And there was a really cool tournament with a new system, and also had Giant Cup, which was to me, I've only been to 2 LANs, but Giant Cup was so well organized in every way. You had computers for people who couldn't bring their own. Like me, I only had to take my backpack, and not a suitcase. And also you had really good organization wise, like everything. And I think this is not going to be a different story with ZeroToHero. It's going to be the same kind of high level on the tournament. And I think, it's going to be hard to find a kind of replacement. But I think the community will find some solutions and bring his legacy forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can only hope to see that some people then kind of pick up almost from where he's left off, so to speak, and carry on the same kind of effort of which he's been putting in. But again, it is a bit of a sad note to end off on, but as I said, we can only hope that the tournament does live up to its potential as the kind of golden standard that he's put down. And like I said, we can only hope all other tournament providers do aspire to the same level of which he has shown us for year upon year. So I suppose round us off with a big thank you to Mass and wish him all the best going forward. Following him ceasing his involvement in Trackmania tournaments, and hope he certainly sticks with us, and hope to see him at some LAN events going forward. But in terms of the actual podcast itself, that is us exhausted our topics. Of course, Zero to Hero and AirFrance Cup are in the book, and our man Mass is in the chat as well. Good to see you. But that is us for today, of course, unless you've anything else you wanted to bring up regarding either of the two topics, Razer.
I just hope that the Zero to Hero tournament is gonna be as good as it can be, and I also hope that AirFrance tournament, that eventually it will end up in a good place, that we will see some really good organization as a really cool tournament to look back at in the future. And maybe for me personally, it's gonna be something to look back at with also good performance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for inviting me to this podcast, and to share these very important subjects, because it's very very important that we talk about this in Trackmania, since it's not really the biggest scene, but we need some coverage, and I think this is a really good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, thank you very much for, of course, stepping up to the plate and joining us today. Of course, it's been my pleasure having you along with us, and been fantastic to bounce some ideas off you. And who knows, we'll maybe get another podcast going in future, and we'll get you on again. Of course, as I said, it's been fantastic talking to you today. But that is us past the 1 hour mark, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have all enjoyed the content of which we've put down. Of course, with the ESAC, if any of you guys were looking for an update in regards to the projects of which will be worked upon, of course, the open map request has just closed, of course, for the tech and dirt submissions. So we will be looking for more information for Q4 in this year coming up soon. So keep your eyes, ears, and everything else peeled for some more information. But of course, I've been Scottie. It's been a pleasure, of course, having Razer join me and talk about From Zero to Hero and AirFrance Cup for you for our episode 4 of the Electronic Sports Arena Challengers Cup. Of course, you can see me on Twitch. My handle's TM Scotsman, and pretty much everything that I can think of. Otherwise, there's some things that are probably negligible that I've forgotten. All the handle links for ESAC are down at the bottom. You see the Twitch website, YouTube, and Twitter pages. But I'll leave you the final word, Razer, and let you tell our lovely people where they can find you if they want to keep in track with our main man from Sweden.
So yeah, if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at RazerTM. I just recently started to updating since the AirFrance qualifiers and also since the final of PTC. And I hope you're gonna have a good evening and a good autumn in Trackmania, and see all of you guys online and maybe on LAN.
See you guys later. Bye-bye.